Namaskar, Om Shakti Hrim Namak Shivaya, Om Namo Narayana. The Narada Purana Part 3. Bhrigu obliged. He told Bhagirathha that trust consisted of saying that which was in consonance with the dictates of religion and did not contradict it. Not violent acts were those that did not cause other living beings any harm. The evil were those who treated other people as enemies, were against religion, and were also stupid. Those who were not evil were good. They did that which was right, followed the Vedas, and performed acts that were beneficial to other living beings. All that good people did constituted punya. There were no prescribed rites for worshipping Vishnu. The best form of worship was to realize that Vishnu was everywhere in the universe, that he was the cause of everything, and that every living being was completely identified with Vishnu. Armed with this wisdom, Bhagirathha bade adieu to Bhrigu and went to the forest to meditate. After spending some time in the forest, he went to the Himalayas. The river Ganga flowed there, at a tirtha named Nandishvara. It was that the Bhagirathha decided to meditate. The tapasya that he performed was extremely difficult. He lived on fruits and roots and made offerings of leaves, flowers, fruit, and water to Vishnu. Several years passed. Bhagirathha next began to control his breath through the technique of pranayama. For 60,000 years Bhagirathha prayed in this way. So difficult was the meditation that smoke started to billow out of Bhagirath's nostrils. The gods got frightened at these happenings. They were worried that Bhagirathha might obtain a boon as a reward for his tapasya and try to dislodge them from heaven. The gods therefore went to the northern shores of the ocean known as Kshiroda and began to pray to Vishnu. Vishnu appeared before them and assured them that Bhagirathha had no such evil intention. In any case, he would go and find out what was that Bhagirathha wanted. Vishnu accordingly appeared before Bhagirathha, and the king fell down at Vishnu's feet in obeisance. Bhagirathha, said Vishnu, I know that you want to free your ancestors. Shiva is no different from me. We are really one and the same. Please pray to Shiva. He will do what you desire. After Vishnu had left, Bhagirathha started praying to Shiva. Shiva appeared before the king. He had 5 heads and 10 arms, and he wore the crescent moon on his forehead. Snakes hung like garlands around his neck, and he wore the skin of elephant as clothing. Bhagirathha said, Shiva, I am pleased with your meditation. Crave a boon. I grant you the boon that you will be prosperous and will attain eternal bliss. Lord, replied Bhagirathha, if you are indeed pleased with me, grant me the boon that the heavenly river Ganga might be brought down from heaven. I wish to free my ancestors. Shiva granted the boon. Bhagirathha started to return at the river Ganga, followed the king wherever he went. It is for this reason the river is also known as the Bhagirathi. Bhagirathha led the river to the place where Kapila's hermitage was. That is the place where his ancestors had been burned to ashes. As soon as the water from the holy river touched those ashes, Sagar sons were freed from hell and ascended to heaven. Vratas. A vrata is a religious rite performed on a special occasion. The Narada Purana describes several such important vratas. One such rite is known as Ekadashi Vrata, so called because it's performed on Ekadashi Tithi, the 11th day of lunar fortnight. The rite is observed in the month of Agrahayana during Shukla Paksha. One has to stay up during the night and bathe a shalagrama image in the morning with the milk. Sesame seeds are to be offered to a fire, and offering of food are made to Vishnu and Lakshmi. Brahmanas have to be invited and fed, and they are also given alms. Similar rites are recommended on Dvadashi Tithi during Shukla Paksha in the months of Pusha and Falguna. In fact, such rites can be observed in on the months. And Ekadashi Tithya and Dvadashi Tithya, the observance of this vrata brings punya that is far in excess of any punya that can be obtained from the performance of famous yajnas. There is another vrata which Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra and even women can observe. That is known as Purnamasya vrata. It is performed on the day of full moon, Purnima. It can be observed in any month. Observance means praying to Vishnu and Lakshmi with a pure heart. Mantras should be chanted and the Puranas should be recited. Rice, sesame seeds and clarified butter have to be offered to the fire. After these are over, Brahmanas have to be invited and fed. It is best if the rite is observed in all months and the vrata comes to a close in the month of Kartika. That is auspicious occasion for building a temple dedicated to Vishnu. Narayana is another name for Vishnu. Since one prays to Vishnu and Lakshmi, this vrata is also known as Lakshmi Narayana vrata. A vrata named Dvaja Rohana is recommended for everyone, irrespective of whether he is man or woman and irrespective of what class he belongs to. A Dvaja is a flag, and a flag is erected atop Vishnu's temple in the course of the vrata. This is begun on Ekadashi Tithi during Shukla Paksha and in the month of Kartika. Vishnu has to be worshipped first and 4 Brahmanas have to be invited to act as priests. The sun, the moon and Garuda also have to be worshipped. Among the prescribed offerings are to make long rainy rice and fragrant flowers. Besides these, 108 bowls of rice pudding and clarified butter have to be offered to the fire. The flag can be erected either on the top of the temple or on the main gate. As long as the flag waves in the wind, the sins of the person who has erected the flag are forgiven. Many years ago, in Satya Yuga, there used to be a king named Sumati. He was born in the lunar dynasty. The king was handsome and righteous, and he ruled over the 7 regions of the world. Sumati never lied, and he was so hospitable that he never refused even a dog as a guest. Sumati was devoted to Vishnu, and so was his wife Satyamati. The king and his wife were also Jatismaras. That is, they could remember the incident of their early lives. Sumati and Satyamati fed the poor. They dug ponds and faithfully observed the Dvaja Rohana vrata. On such occasions, Satyamati used to dance in Vishnu's temple. There was a sage named Vibhandaka. He and his disciple once came to visit this holy couple. The king and the queen were delighted and welcomed the sages with the offerings. "We are gratified that you have come to visit us," they said. "Please tell us, what can we do for you?" Vibhandaka blessed them and replied, "Truly well spoken. Not only you are holy, but you are modest as well. Modesty is the root of all virtues. I'm very happy to have met you. There is nothing that you can do for me, except provide the answers to questions. Why do you faithfully observe the Dvaja Rohana vrata, and why does Satyamati dance in Vishnu's temple?" Sumati recounted their past histories for the sage's benefit. In early life, Sumati used to be a Shudra named Matuli, who was very evil. Matuli would harm other people and steal offerings that were meant for the gods. Since he was a sinner, he was poor and lost all his sons. His friends also deserted him. Matuli thereupon retired to the forest and survived on deer meat. On one particular occasion, Matuli was very hungry and thirsty and came upon a pond that stood in the middle of the forest. There was a temple of Vishnu by side of the pond, and swans and geese spotted on the water. Matuli satisfied his hunger with the lotus stalks and also quenched his thirst. He began to live in that dilapidated temple and repaired parts of it. He built a house for himself near the temple and adopted the profession of a hunter. 20 years passed. There was a woman named Kokilini, who had been born as a daughter of a hunter. Kokilini was forsaken by her friends and relatives and arrived at the forest suffering from hunger and thirst. Matuli offered her fruit and meat and water. He discovered that Kokilini hailed from the region known as the Vindhyas. She was the daughter of a hunter named Damhika and had done all sorts of evil things in her life. But once her husband had died, her friends and relatives had forsaken her and she had nowhere to go to. Matuli married Kokilini. They lived there and often got drunk on wine. In these drunken sprees, they were in the habit of dancing in the temple. During one of these bouts, they happened to die and Yama's servants arrived to take Matuli and Kokilini to hell. But Vishnu had been pleased by the dancing. Vishnu's servants also arrived and would not permit Matuli and Kokilini be taken to Naraka, to the hell. They maintained that these two were the beloved of Vishnu, and hence all their sins had been forgiven. Kokilini had pleased Vishnu with her dance. As for Matuli, he had erected a flag on the temple in the course of the repair work that he had done. This amounted to an observance of Dvaja Rohana Vrata. The two groups of servants debated. Finally, Vishnu's servants took Matuli and Kokilini to Vishnuloka, the abode of Vishnu. After enjoying themselves there for 4,000 of years, Matuli and Kokilini had been born as Sumati and Satyamati. They were born as Jatismaras and remembered all that had earlier transpired in his last life. Sumati therefore continued to observe the Dvaja Rohana Vrata, and Satyamati continued to dance in Vishnu's temple. There is a Vrata named Hari Panchaka. This is observed on Dvadashi Tithi during Shukla Paksha in the month of Magha Shirsha. Vishnu's image has to be basic and offerings of incense, flowers and betel leaves have to be made. For 4 successive days one prays to Vishnu, starting from 12th day of lunar fortnight to the day of the full moon. Thereafter Brahmins have to be invited and fed. The rite is observed every month starting from Pusha and ending with Kartika. The punya acquired from observing this vrata is equivalent to the punya obtained from donating millions of cows. There is another vrata that is observed on Dashami Tithi, the 10th day of the lunar fortnight. During Shukla Paksha in the months of Ashada, Shravana, Bhadra and Ashvina. This vrata is superior to performing many yajnas. There was a sage named Gaulava who lived on banks of the Narmada river. Gaulava's son was named Bhadrashiva and he happened to be Jatismara. Bhadrashiva was devoted to Vishnu. Even as a child he had been in the habit of making temples to Vishnu out of clay and worshipping Vishnu. He would tell everyone about the virtues of observing a vrata on Ekadashi Tithi. Gawal was indeed very happy that his son was so devout, but he was also slightly mystified. He told Bhadrashiva, "I am fortunate that I have such a devout son. Your character is beyond reproach, and you are devoted to Vishnu. You faithfully observe all the vratas. How did you come to acquire these traits?" "That is because I remember the experience of my early lives," replied Bhadrashiva. "I am Jatismara. I remember that Yama had told me." "Who were you in your early life?" asked Galava. "And what did Yama tell you?" Bhadrashiva recounted the story. Bhadrashiva used to be a king named Karmakirti, born in the lunar dynasty. His guru was the sage Dattatreya. For 9,000 years, Karmakirti ruled the earth, performing good deeds as well as evil ones. But towards the end, he was drawn to evil and committed only sins. He associated with evil person and his store of accumulated punya was gradually depleted. Karmakirti gave up the performance of yajnas. He deviated from the path prescribed by the Vedas. Taking a cue from the king, his subject also became evil. A king is entitled to 1/6 of his subject earnings. Thus Karmakirti was also credited with 1/6 of the sins that his subject committed. One day the king went on a hunt to the forest. He killed many deer and became hungry and thirsty. The river flowed through the forest and Kamakirti bathed in the river, but there was no food to be had. Meanwhile, some pilgrims also arrived there, and these pilgrims were observing the vrata on Ekadashi Tithi. The rites involved fasting and staying awake at night. Together with the pilgrims, Kamakirti also fasted and stayed awake at night. But the king was virtually starving for lack of food. When morning dawned, he died of starvation. Yama's servants arrived to take Kamakirti to Yama. The visits were terrible. The trip to Yama's abode took many days, but eventually Kamakirti arrived there and was taken before Yama. Chitragupta gives account of all good deeds and sings. Yama called Chitragupta to him and said, Kamakirti has been brought here. Tell me about the punya that he has accumulated and the sins, Papa, that he has committed. This man has been really evil, replied Chitragupta. However, he has happened to fast on Ekadashi Tithi. His sins have therefore all been forgiven. Yama summoned his servants and started to soundly berate them. What have you done? He demanded. How dare you bring such a holy person to me? You have been told that you should not bring for punishment people who observe Ekadashi Vrata. Nor should you bring those who pray to Vishnu. Such people go straight to heaven. Bring only sinners here. Yama repeated to Kamakirti what he had told his servants, and the king became penitent for his past misdeeds. He had, however, accumulated a lot of punya because of observing Ekadashi Vrata. He therefore spent a lot of time in heaven before being born again as a Brahmana. It is because he remembered all these incidents that Hadrashiva was so devout. He realized that if there was so much of punya to be obtained from unconsciously observing Ekadashi Vrata, great indeed must be the punya that could be attained from observing the rite consciously. Galava regarded himself as exceedingly fortunate to have fathered such a wonderful son. Varna Ashrama Dharma. There are 4 classes Varna, and these are Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. The Brahmana class is superior to the other 3. Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishya are sometimes also referred to as Dvija or Trija. The word Dvija signifies a person who is born twice, and the word Trija is used for a person who is born thrice. When the word Dvija is used, one refers to two births that these 3 classes go through. The first is the act of physical birth, and the second is the sacred rite ceremony, upayanaya. When the word Traya is used, a third birth is included. That is the act of initiation Diksha. Shudras do not have Upanayana or Diksha. Dharma means that each class must perform the duties that are prescribed for it. Any deviation from this principle leads to adharma. The primary duties of a Brahmana are donating alms, performing yajna, worshipping the gods and reciting the Vedas. He should also be devoted to Vishnu and should never use harsh words. And he should regard other people's property as being as worthless as stones. The primary duties of a Kshatriya are donating alms to Brahmanas, reciting the Vedas and performing yajnas. A Kshatriya also has to take arms and protect the world. He is entrusted with the responsibility of punishing the evil and protecting the good. A Vaishya must study the Vedas. That apart the duties of Vaishya are animal husbandry, agriculture and trade. The Shudras are permitted to donate alms, but their primary duty is to serve the other 3 classes. All 4 classes should be pleasant of speech and should try to do good to the others. No individual should be overly addicted to sloth or to sensual pleasures. In times of danger or calamity, it is permitted that a Brahmana take up the occupation of a Kshatriya or a Vaishya. Similarly, it is permitted that Kshatriya take the occupation of Vaishya. But under no circumstance should an individual belonging to one of the first 3 classes take the occupation of a Shudra. A person who does this to be regarded as a Chandala, outcast. When a son is born, a father has to perform a ceremony named Nandi Mukha. It is only after that the boy can be named. A Brahmana should have his Upanayana ceremony when he is 8 years of age, Kshatriya when he is 11, and Vaishya when he is 12. A Brahmana ties his sacred thread around his waist. A Kshatriya uses the string of his bow for the same purpose, and a Vaishya uses sheepskin. Brahmanas can wear the skin of black buck, Kshatriyas are meant to wear the skin of deer named Ruru, and goat skin is indicated for Vaishya. If a Brahmana carries a stick, it can be so long that it extends up his hair. But a Kshatriya stick should not extend beyond his forehead and Vaishya's beyond his nose. There are 4 ashramas, stages of life. The first is called Brahmacharya, stage of celibate studenthood. During the period, an individual studies the Vedas in the Guru's house and serves his Guru well. He lives only on food that he has obtained through begging. There are some objects that are forbidden for such an individual. He is not permitted to eat honey, meat, salt, a better leaf. Nor is allowed to sleep during the day, wear galleys or slippers, or use an umbrella. He has to stay away from gambling, singing and dancing. When he studies the Vedas well, the student is ready to step into the next stage of life. But prior to that, he is to pay a fee dakshina to his teacher. The second ashrama is Garhasya, household stage, Grihastha. The individual has to get married before he can enter the second stage of life. The bride and the groom should not be related to one another. Up to 7 generations on the father's side and up 5 generations on the mother's side. Cleanliness brings great punya to a householder. He also has to serve his guest well. A guest who goes away dissatisfied leaves his punya, his papa with the householder and takes the householder punya away. The third ashrama is Vanaprastha. A householder embarks on this when he discovers that his hair is turning grey and his skin is getting wrinkled. He leaves his wife with his grown-up son or takes her with him and retires to the forest. He is no longer permitted to clip his nails or shave his hair, and he has to sleep on the ground. For food he is allowed fruit and roots. Under no circumstance should he eat at night. His entire time is taken up with meditating on Vishnu. The fourth and final ashrama is sannyasa, hermit stage. This should only be embarked upon when one's mind is completely detached from the world. It is pointless to become a hermit if one is still addicted to material pursuits. A hermit should completely shave off his head. He has no friends and no enemies. Insults or praise means nothing to him. He obtains his food by begging for alms. A hermit should not spend more than 1 night at a stretch in a village or more than 3 nights at a stretch in a city. Any religious rite that involves fasting should be done on one of the following Tithi, lunar day: Dvitiya 2nd, Shasthi 6th, Ashtami 8th, Ekadashi 11th, Chaturdashi 14th, Amavasya night of the new moon, and Purnima night of the full moon. Vratas are recommended in Shukla Paksha and not in Krishna Paksha. If there is a solar or lunar eclipse, one should not eat until the sun or the moon has been seen again. Nor should one eat for 4 hours before a solar eclipse and for 3 hours before a lunar eclipse. But said the sages, what happens if one commits a sin? What form does the penance prayaschita take? That is what Sutta told them. The severest sin is that of killing of Brahmana. They may happen inadvertently. In such cases, the murderer must place his hand on the dead man's forehead and beg forgiveness. He then retires to the forest. He keeps matted hair and eats only once a day, that too only fruit and roots. He meditates only on Vishnu. The sinner also visits various famous places of pilgrimage. but he makes it a point to tell whomsoever he meets that he has committed the sin of killing a Brahmana. The period of penance continues for 12 years, after which the sin is pardoned. There might occur a situation where the sinner dies before the 12 years are over. If the sinner is killed by a deer or he dies of disease, the sin is automatically forgiven. It is also pardoned if the person concerned dies while serving a cow or a Brahmana. The penance for killing a Kshatriya is the same as for killing a Brahmana. Alternatively, the murderer may immolate himself in a fire or kill himself by jumping off a high place. But generally speaking, the sin of killing a Kshatriya is only half as severe as that of killing a Brahmana, and the sin of killing a Vaishya is only 1/3 as severe as that of killing a Brahmana. A Shudra who kills a Brahmana is to be beaten to death with a club. There are 3 types of wine, known as Gaudi, Madhvi and Pashti. The drinking of wine is forbidden. If one drinks wine, the prescribed penance is the drinking of clarified butter and the urine of cows. Drinking wine, in fact, is as great a sin as the killing of Brahmana. There are various units for measuring gold, kanchana. When sunlight filters through a window, small particles can be seen. These are known as trasarenu. 8 trasarenus make a nishka. 3 nishkas are on 1 Raja Sarpa Sharpa. 3 Raja Sarpas are 1 Gosa Sharpa. 6 Gosa Sharpa are 1 Yava. 3 Yavas 1 Krishnava. 5 Krishnavas 1 Masha. And 16 Mashas 1 Suvarna. A person who steals gold amounting to 1 Suvarna from a Brahmana commits a sin that is equivalent to the killing of Brahmana. The same sort of atonement is thus indicated. In addition, the sinner has to apply clarified butter and cow dung on his body. If Kshatriya steals gold from a Brahmana, he has to perform a horse sacrifice. The alternative is to donate to Brahmanas 300 cows or gold equivalent to the weight of one's one body. But if the chief shows penitence and returns the gold to the Brahmana immediately after he has stolen it, 12 days of fasting is enough. The penance is halved if the object that has been stolen is not gold, but is gem, land or cattle. Naturally, the penance is less if the amount of gold that has been stolen is not a suvarna, but is less. For example, if a trasareno of gold has been stolen, 2 rounds of pranayama is sufficient atonement. If a nishka of gold has been stolen, 3 rounds of pranayama are needed, and if a raja sarpa of gold has been stolen, 4 rounds of pranayama are indicated. A person who steals a gosa sharpa of gold has to chant the Gayatri mantra 1008 times. If the amount of stolen gold increased to 1 yava, the mantra has to be chanted throughout an entire day. For stealing gold amounting to 1 Krishnava, a special vrata named Santapana has to be observed. What about situation where 1 masha of gold has been stolen? Then the sinner has to eat for 3 months food grains soaked in the urine of cows and worship the gods for a corresponding period. The period is increased to 1 year if the amount of stolen gold is more than 1 masha but less than 1 suvarna. Separate vratas are prescribed for the stealing of silver, bronze, brass, copper and jewels. The severity of the vrata depends on the object that has been stolen and on the amount of the theft. A person who associates with the sinner has undergo penance. The penance is the same as would have been the case had he committed the sin himself. There is a special vrata known as Prajapatya. A person who kills a mongoose, crow, bull, rat, cat, goat, sheep, dog or hen has to observe half a Prajapatya vrata. A person who kills a horse has to observe 3 such rites. 1 other rites are prescribed for those who kill elephant or kill cows inadvertently. If a cow is consciously killed, no penance other than death will suffice. A person who steals wood, grass, trees, molasses, meat or skin will fast for 3 days. A person who kills birds, turtle or poppers will fast for 12 days. Yajnas and religious rites are sacred ceremonies. If the voice of Chandala is heard while such rites are going on, it is recommended that one fast for a day and purifies oneself by partaking of clarifying bhati of the second day. 1008 Gayatri mantras also have to be chanted. No penance is prescribed for those who criticize the gods or the brahmanas. Such sins are beyond redemption. No penance is successful unless it is accompanied by faith in Vishnu. The sins are forgiven even if one prays to Vishnu inadvertently. Praying to Vishnu is far superior to visiting place of pilgrimage or performing religious rites. Yama's abode is very far away. Those who have accumulated punya have nothing to fear there, but the sinners have every reason to be scared. The righteous enjoy the trip to Yama's abode, but the sinners suffer a lot. The sinners suffer from hunger and thirst and weep throughout the journey. Yama's servants continually beat them with whips and weapons. The road is lined with mud, fire and hot sands. Stones and weapons shower down. In some places there are blistering winds. Parts of the road are dark and bristle with sharp thorns. One has to climb mountains and creep through caves. The sinners accordingly suffer throughout the journey. Yama's servant goad and prod them along, pulling them with nooses tied around their necks. Weights are attached to the bodies of the sinners so as to make the journey even more difficult. Blinkers are sometimes put on the eyes so that the sinners can see. They fall into pits and holes. It is during this journey that sinners become penitent for their past misdeeds. But by then it is too late. The righteous have no cause to fear the journey. They travel in great comfort. Those who have donated food get delicious meals along the way. Those who have donated water slake their thirst with condensed milk. Those who have donated clothes get wonderful clothes to wear. Those who have donated land or houses do not have to walk at all. They travel in Vimans, space vehicles, and are served by apsaras, dancers of heaven. That is also true of those who have donated horse, chariots or food grains. Upon reaching Yama's abode, people are taken before Yama. Yama has 4 hands, and in 3 of these hands he calls Shankha, Echaka and Gada. The righteous are welcomed by Yama and sent off to enjoy the fruits of their punya. But the sinners tremble before Yama's stern visage. He threatens them with his capital Kavadanda. His voice thunders. The righteous get to see Yama's pleasant appearance, while his terrible appearance he reserved for the sinners. This terrible manifestation has 22 arms, bloodshot eyes, and fearsome teeth. Chidragupta is Yama's companion and he keeps account of all good deeds and sins. He tells the sinners, "You are evil, you have many sins to your credit. Suffer in hell, repentance now will serve no purpose." The sinners are then taken to hell, Naraka. After they have served their sentence in hell, they are born again. Their first born as trees, hair, grass and clippers. They are thereafter born as wombs. When these lives are over, they are born as animals. It is only after several lives that they get to be born as humans again. But there are different gradations in human lives as well. The sinners progressively graduate from being born as tenants to being born as outcasts, hunters, washermen, potters, blacksmiths, goldsmiths, weavers, and traders. Some are born rich, others are born poor. Some are born hale, others are born diseased and malformed. Each birth is determined by the action of one's early lives. The world is full of miseries. How does one rise above the illusion of the world? How does one free oneself from these miseries? How does one attain bliss, moksha? It is Vishnu who provides bliss. Brahma creates the world on the Vishnu orders, and Shiva destroys it also on Vishnu's instruction. The entire universe is completely identified with Vishnu. Vishnu has no form, nor is without form. He is the source of all dharma. He is from him that all the elements originate. Humans who worship him become like gods. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Narayana, Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe.